Hey guys, it's Katie. So this video is going to be a multi-part video, dealing with a couple things I've seen people using recently and asking questions about on my Facebook page, and stuff I've been showing people wanting to see. So we're just going to do a quick overview, okay? The first material is this molding putty, and this works well on things that you have that you are. For me, so say I buy something like this to use on my mixed media projects, these metal embellishments, which can get kind of expensive. Metal, glass, different things, plastic. You can make a mold of it and then put your clay in it, or some people use plaster, different things in it, in the mold, and then constantly have this shape. And I don't need to keep buying these metal, because I can make them look like metal with paints and patinas and waxes and different things. So what I've done is made molds, and I've already done this big one here a long time ago. You can make molds of all kinds of things, and I have a whole bunch of them. You know, this was a metal heart. You know, here was another metal heart. And if I use it on one project, then that's it. And then I got to buy it again, and I don't want to buy it again. So a good way to be able to kind of get use out of projects is by using molding putty. I'm going to do a small one because I don't really need this. I'm just doing it to show you guys. Because someone posted it the other day and people were like, well, how do you use it? And blah, blah, blah. Oh, that's why I couldn't get out. How do you use it? And so I'm going to show you. We use this in a dental field. Obviously, we use medical grade stuff, but it's very easy to use. This stuff is the Amazing Molding Putty. This is the only brand I've tried outside of dental materials. Someone asked if it was latex based. I did try to read on this whole thing and on the bottles. It does not say what it's made out of. So it says non-toxic, complies with FDA 21 CFR. I don't know what that means. So she's trying to contact the company to see if it is latex or not. You get a base, a catalyst, and a base, part A, part B, and pretty much you're equal. There's directions, but you're going to mix equal amounts. You want to mix it thoroughly, and then you're going to put it over your piece and let it sit for 20 minutes, and then it becomes solid like this, where then you can just take clay and jam it in there, okay? And you get an impression. So it does take some practice. It is not that easy to do. They come with this scooper, but the scooper's freaking huge to fit down in there. So I just have my own little scooper thing. Pretty much I just either roll it in a ball and get equal balls, or whatever, however you want to do this. Or you can take a little container and jam it down in there to make sure you have equal amounts. In the dental field, we tend to use balls. They come with scoops too, but... So equal parts. This is probably like almost 2 years old, so. Okay. Let me just wipe my hands off because I don't want to stick it in there. So I'm going to show you how to make your old mold. Then I'm going to show you a couple of different molds I already have. Pre-made molds that you can use for clay projects. Either for projects or just to make your own embellishments, which is what I do with molds, is I make my own embellishments for projects, so I don't have to buy a whole bunch of them, because I can remake them 100 times in the molds, you know, or more than that, however many times I want. So depending what one's a catalyst and what one's a base, and I'm not really sure it says that if you, yeah, no, I won't even say that, because a lot of times if you add more catalyst, it'll set it faster. But it doesn't even say, it just says A and B. So I'm not actually sure technically which one's a catalyst and which one's a base. So about equal sized balls. Just get this stuff out of my way. Okay. I have paint all over my thing. Then we're going to mix these. And you want to actually mix them. It takes 20 minutes to fully set, but you do want to get it on your thing as quickly as possible, because it will start to harden on you and then you won't get as smooth of an impression. So really just mix it up till it's homogeneous, a fully, you know, even mix. Just go for it. Go for it fast. This is not the time to dink around. Try to make a nice smooth ball if you can. And then you're going to take your piece and you're going to set your piece down into it. And you do want it to come up over the edge, but you don't want it to come too far that you can't get your clay piece out later when you set it in. So I usually push it up over the edge. And then later I will trim flat. Once it's set with my clay blade, I'll trim it flat. You know, if you want to get rid of that stuff down in there so you don't have these holes, these are made to be hung, you can trim that out now. But make sure it's nice and mushed to your piece here. So hopefully you get a good impression. And again, I'm not going to show you the impression because it's going to take long to set. I mean, if I'm still making the video when it comes to that point, I'll show you how it came out. I haven't done this in a while, so the first couple times I did it, I didn't get that great of an impression. So it does take a little practice. So do something small the first couple times. And again, I wouldn't worry about this stuff over the side at this point. We can trim this flat later. Other than this, like if this was bulging out a lot, you know, like these little holes, and you don't want that, you can get rid of that. Okay. There's one. And like I said, later, before I took my piece out, I just trimmed it with my clay blade to make it flat. Because if you have a lot of overhang, it's going to be hard to get your clay piece out of there. Because I'm not sure that you can bake this. It really doesn't, it has crap for directions. It doesn't say if you can bake it after. It says, make your own molds for resin, food, soap, wax, clay, and more. But I'm assuming it's air dry clay. I don't think this can be baked after it's made. If someone knows otherwise, post a comment. Yes, it can be baked. I'm not going to try it. Okay. Then using molds. So in my mixed media pieces, like I said, I tend to make molds of stuff. This is a mold. These are Prima molds, and I have a few of them. I'm going to show you this one here. Gives you this border. This one here gives you this border. And I've made the clock. I've made both of these here. Let me see. I think I have these right by me, so I'll show you. These little chessboard looking pieces. Okay. Here's a filigree from the next one I'll show you. So these molds work well. The Prima Finnabar molds can be baked. So you can put your clay right in this and bake this. I have another mold. So these are all Prima. I do have these, I think I have all of them in my mixed media on my Amazon Ambassador. I have a mixed media tab now, and I put in some of my mixed media stuff because people asked about it. This is another one. This one is this here, right in here, but I trimmed part of it off. So these are out of clay, obviously. So with this type, so let me show you what I would do. Okay, with molds. Now, I do have other molds, so this is a different type of mold, a different brand, okay? And like this one gave me this. Now, this brand and this brand, I don't know if they can be baked, okay? It says something about on the package, temperature, negative. So I think it can be chilled for like chocolate, because this is food grade and this is food grade. I think it can be chilled, but it said negative temperatures. So I don't think it can be heated, and I didn't want to risk it. So with these, what I do, let me show you what I do with a mold that I'm not sure if it can be baked or not. Okay, so this is a set that I got, and it comes with these 4. And so they have different patterns. Again, I put these on my Amazon. I looked for corner molds, so when I make a square piece, I can have corner molds. This one I've made a couple of them as well. And I show you in the mixed media frame project I'm making. This is an angel. I actually think I have that right here. Cute little angel. Okay. So these are a bunch of molds. And again, I don't know if I can bake these. So what I do with ones that cannot be baked, or I'm not sure if they can be baked, is you get your clay all conditioned. I got my tile ready. This is how I do it, okay? And there might be better ways. So this is a mix of Sculpey 3 and Pardo, just because my Pardo is old and it's getting really crumbly. And I'm not sure if you can add the Sculpey clay softener to it. Even when I warm it up, even if it's in my pants for 4 hours, it still is really crumbly. So I'm mixing that with like 1/3 of Sculpey 3 just to use up some Sculpey 3. And that's what I'm making these out of, because they're going to go on a flat mixed media piece. So all I do is take pieces and kind of jam it down in there. Work it down in with my fingers. I try to pack more in there. I can also use, if it gets too sticky, like it's sticking to my fingers, I'll take my ball tool and kind of rub, because you want to get it right down in that texture so it impresses well. Then I'll take my blade and I'll try to shave flat so you don't have a lot of trimming after it comes out of the oven. Now, some of these smaller ones like to come out of the mold as you're working it, so try to keep it down in there. And I've done this one too. I'll show you. I've done a couple of them. Let me see if I got a good one. And then I take a piece of parchment and I rub over it just to really get it down into that texture. You know, it's all about what you're impressing. Pull your parchment off nice and smooth and kind of keep it low to your surface so it doesn't come off on the parchment. Because I've had that happen. I pull my parchment up and it's stuck to my parchment. Then I take my tile and I flip it onto my tile and push down really well. And then peel up and it should be stuck down with no distortion because you stuck it right to your tile. You didn't peel it out of that and then put it on your tile. So they should all be about the same. Okay, so and then I would bake that at you normally bake at. So that's one way to do the ones that you're not sure if they can be baked. The other way, and this is, I need to condition this a little bit, but the other way to work this on the ones that can be baked, and maybe we'll do this clock here, is obviously get it down in there. Now, on the ones that can be baked, you don't know how good of an impression you got because you're not taking it out of the mold until after you've baked it. So that's sometimes what makes me nervous about baking it without seeing how well I did, because sometimes you didn't get it down in there good enough and you're not getting a good enough impression and blah, blah, blah. And then you bake it and you're like, crap, there's a crack there. Or, you know, you could put one big ball in here, but I have a hard time getting it where I want it. So that's why I do sections and then just make sure I push it down really, really well to get that texture. So again, just pushing it way down in there. And sometimes you get a little excess on the edges that you can trim off after it's baked. With your craft knife. Now, like the little parts, like on the angel, the foot was the hardest part to get it down in. That was the hardest part because it's like this long little, where is it? Skinny, I'm like trying to jam down a little thing, you know. That was the hardest part, is to get that foot. But I've made a couple of them and they all look nice. So I like that set. That's a good set. I just got that one. These I've had for a while. So I find if I use my roller over this, the roller actually will peel it out as you're coming across. It'll like peel up. So I don't tend to use my roller as much. So try to get it down in there as much as you can. Again, if it's really sticking to your fingers, use that parchment. Because I'm using some Sculpey 3 in here, it does stick more to your fingers. This is where I started with Sculpey 3, is doing this type of stuff. The problem is even this thick stuff, let me see. I believe this is Sculpey. No, that's translucent. I wonder if I can find a Sculpey 3 one that I made a long time ago. That border was Sculpey 3. So this is Sculpey 3. That's why I don't like Sculpey 3. Because how easy did that just, I mean, literally. So the only reason why I'm using some of my Sculpey 3 is because it has a lot of Pardo in it. And I'm only using like a third Sculpey 3 and the rest is Pardo. And I'm not using these pieces like that. They'll be glued to like something flat like this. So you're not going to really bend it. You just got to be careful in the meantime. Okay, so now that I got it pushed down, I'm going to shave off it as much as I can. Nice and flat. And again, Prima molds, they are more expensive, but you can bake in them. And they're really nice molds. The other little mold I got, those other ones I was showing you. Do I have the little... Let me show you something. So in Prima molds, you don't... I think they're machine made. You don't get fingerprints from whoever made the mold. You don't get stuff like that, like weird seams. These molds are freaking smooth. Like these are well made. They're more expensive, but they're well made molds. Whereas these little white molds, I think someone made them because in this little cabochon, I'll show you on a piece I made. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. Over here, there's a fingerprint. Can you see it right there? Let me show you on the piece. Hang on, let me grab it. Because that is like, was irritating. I tried to smooth it out, so I should have. I tried to smooth as much of it out as I could, but do you still see it down in there? I'll show you with this scrap. Watch. I'll just do it quick. So these type of molds where they're handmade, I think they're handmade, I don't know. Whoever made this base. You see that fingerprint right on the middle of that dome, you know, right there on the edge? Like, this is supposed to be a smooth dome and boom. Fingerprint. And I didn't push this in very hard. I just quickly pushed this in. But it's even more visible when you actually jam it way down in there well. So Prima molds you don't have that issue with Prima molds. You really, really don't. Okay, I'm just making sure I trimmed it off so it's fairly even. And then I'll take my parchment and again, smooth it down. Try to really push it down in that texture. See, a little bit here is hung over the edge. That's okay. I will leave that and I will take my blade to it when it's done baking. And again, I'm going to bake these for 50 minutes. So usually I make 20, 30. I mean, I have a whole bunch of them in here. I've made a whole bunch of them. I have a frame mold one that I didn't bring over to show you. But ones that makes little frames. Those are cute. That you can use. Here's another one of the little frames. I have that in my mixed media tab in my Amazon. Here's another frame. It comes with 4 frames on the thing. These I haven't trimmed, so you can see that inside that heart, right up at the top there, there's a little excess. That I would take my blade and trim that. Here's the other frame in that set. Very pretty. Okay, and that's in my mixed media on my Amazon Ambassador page, which on Facebook is in the, if you go on my Facebook page in the announcements tab, the link is on there. And if you go on my YouTube videos since November, the link is in the description below. Also, when you're joining my Facebook group, if you're going to, please answer the questions. It doesn't need to be a sentence. Yes, no, I agree. Just so I know you're not a computer or anything. So please, otherwise I'm going to hit decline. Okay. So then again, keep your thing low so you don't peel it off. And I'm going to bake this in here just like this, okay? So let me go get this in the oven. And I'll show you one more thing. We're going to make a flower. out of fabric. Let me show you. I didn't show you the rest of the molds. So there's that frame one. This is another Prima mold I have. There's tons of them. They have a good amount of them. Here's another one with like these little cabochons. I already showed you that filigree one. Okay, that's it. That's all my molds I have. And then the one that's in the oven right now. And, you know, I do have little lace ones that in my first video I posted making lace out of light paste. It's a texture paste type thing. So I've used those lace ones before. So let me get picked up and I'm going to grab some lace ribbon and show you how to make some flowers. Okay, so I've been making a bunch of flowers lately. And I know you guys, if you're on my Facebook page, you've seen me because I'm going to be using these in a project. Some I've put centers on and some I have not. Like this one, you could totally put a little center and I can put these little gemmies on my Amazon mixed media page, these little centers. But you could just use a bead. Some of them I've put centers on so far and some of them I haven't. Because this type of one, you could actually stick a little one and have it as the background type thing. So I'm going to show you this quick type of flower. There are hundreds and hundreds of how to make fabric flowers, shabby chic flowers. If you look up the material, tulle, organza, cheesecloth, there's tons of videos. How to make cheesecloth flowers, how to make organza flowers, how to make burlap flowers. There are tons of YouTube videos already. So the most simple one that's the easiest, no sewing, is this kind of twirly design. And depending on what type of fabric, it's really going to depend on what it looks like. Here's a burlap one. This one is organza. This one is actually sari ribbon. And I made bigger ones too. This one's cheesecloth. Just cheap old cheesecloth I got on sale from Halloween. And this one is, this is natural lace ribbon, but you can do it with thinner lace too. So I'm going to show you how to make these quickly, and we're going to do this one. So first thing, you're going to need something to glue it to, and then you're going to need some hot glue. Now, I don't have any felt. I see on these videos, a lot of people use felt. Some people use little cardstock. I have a bunch of this foam, you know, like kids' craft foam. So for doing craft projects with my nieces and nephews. So I've been using this. And pretty much all you need to do is cut out a little circle. Little or big, depending how big you're going to make it. And we'll just do a small one because it's the same thing over and over. You can measure and make a perfect circle. You don't need to either. Okay. And you can make foam flowers as well out of this stuff. You can heat it up and make foam flowers. Okay. I got my hot glue gun on the side heating up. This is I just got this the other day. This is a precision tip hot glue gun. The biggest issue with this one, which is why I'm not putting it on my mixed media page. There's other ones, but I didn't buy a whole bunch of them. This one does not have an on and off switch, which may not seem like a big deal. It is the biggest pain in the ass to have to bend down and plug this thing in. Because my plug-in's not, I'm in a basement, so everything's on extension cord. We have like 3 plug-ins down here. And I have to go find the extension cord, plug it in. It's really, I wish there was an on-off switch. The reason why I bought it is it said it always stands up, and it's got these little rubber feet. It does stand up. It does leak a little bit sometimes, not all the time, sometimes. So I think it's good. I like the little tiny tip, but it doesn't have an on-off switch. So as far as fabric goes, I'm going to use this lace, and I put this on my Amazon because I'm going to show the video for it. I've used, you know, for my organza fabric, I used a thick lace like this and just folded it in half to make these. So I just folded this one in half like that. And you could even make it, you know, smaller if you want. So, and there's some where there's some videos where you can sew petals. I do some of them where I sew the petal and then glue it a little bit. So, sorry, I keep getting off track. Let me just grab a couple here where you can like sew. Okay, here's just a couple. So this one is with a strip of chiffon. And this we're doing the same exact way, except for as we go around, I put a slit in it. So that's this one. This one here, I sewed petals and then I glued them. So there's tons of videos to show you how to like sew a petal. This is one, but I've only done one layer of this one because this one can be used, like if I had a smaller one, as a backing. Like this. You know, you can, if I had a smaller one of these, you could put it behind these. Then I made some burlap like this, because you can, again, kind of going for shabby chic, put a pretty material on top of a more rustic material, see? So these ones I just glued down, and then I did tie a couple, but there's videos on this. And then I glued it all together, and then just trimmed the edges to be all shabby. This is one that, again, you could put, doesn't matter what the center looks like, you just make loops with the burlap. So you can have, I've been having fun doing this. This is different, and I've been having a lot of fun actually doing all of this. But either way, we're going to make this kind. And same way, just depending how many layers or how wide you start will depend on how it comes out. So this is the ribbon we're going to use. And I usually leave it attached. I don't cut a slit off. And the first thing we're going to do is just put a dot of glue down so we can get the end going. So, and yes, you might burn yourself on this type of thing. It's just kind of how it is. You're going to be touching a lot of hot glue. So pretty much all we're going to do is be like ruffling it up and just going around the circle. Just like that. Okay, so what I tend to do is just do a little bit at once. Okay, and ruffle it up, hold, ruffle it up, hold. Really get your fingers, like I already got hot glue on my finger. It wasn't that hot though, because most of it is behind the lace. Again, just do a little bit at once because it's hard to ruffle a whole bunch and hold it. Ruffle, hold. And depending how much you ruffle it, will, again, depends how it looks. Ooh, I let go. We're going to go all the way around. So again, you can do this with any kind of fabric you have. You can cut strips of fabric. If you have old jeans, you know, or old t-shirts, just cut strips out of it. This is actually really relaxing. I've been having a lot of fun doing this the last couple days. And you want to try to keep it on the border, like the same distance around, so the outside layer is sticking out the same. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't want to go way in here. You want to try to keep it around the outside for the outer layer. And then finish your layer. Why does my heater sound so loud? Can you hear that upstairs? Click, 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 click. Because I'm in the basement. Can you hear the heat? And then I might actually end right there so you don't see that. So let me end right there. Now I guess you could cut this off and then start your next row. I just keep going. Okay, so we're going to go in a little bit. So now I'm going to glue right around this edge. And sometimes I get wonky. So like, can you see this? Look at the distance from the center to over here. You see, I got kind of crazy on my circle there. Whereas this one's more centered. So sometimes you get a little crazy. So try to keep it the same distance all the way around. So I'm going to go right here and put a little glue. You don't need much, like even that first ball was probably too much glue. It's going to be hot. And it might actually be easier if you keep track of this layer to this layer and make sure you're watching that distance. So whether you're, you know, putting it, rather than, I usually watch in here and where I'm setting it in here, but it might actually be smarter if I'm watching this outside edge. And then you just make however many layers as you want. Go around 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, however many times you want. I do have to make a couple big ones, but I added my mom to our Facebook page, and she's like, "Oh, I really like those. Can I have one?" I'm like, "Mom, I'm making them for you for a project. I'm making a mixed media project. I just actually asked you guys today if you wanted to see it, that frame. So you may end up actually seeing that project." And then I'm almost back to the beginning again. So once I get back to the beginning, I'm going to do another step in. Oop. And if you don't get it folded up enough until, you know, quick enough and it sets on you, we'll just put more glue there. So here was my beginning, and I've gone all the way around. So then I'm going to, again, drop down and go in the inside of this circle. So same thing. Until you think you have enough covered up for whatever your center is going to be, or you have enough layers for what you want. This is so easy. No sewing, just gluing. I mean, different types of fabrics totally look differently, which is kind of neat. And doing all of these fabrics, to me look different. I mean, yes, they're all vittorally, but, you know, I could put a center in this one. You know, you could put different kinds of centers in them. Almost on this one. And then I'm trying to decide where I want to cut it. Maybe like there. Let's cut. Yeah, so there are other precision glue guns. I would try a different brand. If you're going to get a precision glue gun, get a different brand, because this brand, it works well. Like I said, I just don't like that it doesn't have an on-off switch. So if your plugins are below your desk and stuff, and you're going to have to reach down every time you want to use it, you know, you might want to try a different one that has an on-off switch. I didn't even pay attention to that. I actually might cut this one off and end it. So these are actually fun, and you can make all kinds of projects with these. Just trying to decide how I want to end that. Probably something like that. Okay. That's how it looks without a little center. And then let me grab the center. So these centers came with, I don't know how many, but I've already used one of these. But I'll put these on my Amazon. So I've already used one. So it came with 1, 2, is that 4? 5 of these. I don't know. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, so it came with 50 of them, must be. So these little guys are pretty, and they're nice and small. So I'll put the link, like I said, on my Amazon. Actually, I don't think you can reorder these right now. It's currently unavailable. And I just ordered them like 2 days ago because I was going to order more, and they said they were unavailable. So, but I'll still put the link because you might be able to find them somewhere else, and you'll have the description of how big they are. I think they're 10 millimeters. So again, then I just hot glued this. There we go. And again, depending how many layers you have is going to depend how it looks and how much you wrinkle it and all that. And see this one, the end right here got a little weird, so I'm going to glue that down. While my hot glue is going, just a little dab of glue. Glue that down so it doesn't flick up so much. How pretty, huh? Super easy and pretty. Let's see if this mold is set. I don't think so. I'm going to give this a few more minutes. We'll wait for my thing to come out of the oven, and then we'll demold this. I'm going to show you this chiffon one really quick, just because this one here. So I have this piece of chiffon, and it's too wide for what I want. I want small flowers, so I'm just going to, you could do a stitch to stitch this in half, a running stitch, but I hate stitching. So I'm just going to glue it in half, just put a dot here and there, just to kind of help me hold it in half because it's easier. So just kind of, don't put a big long strip of glue, just a couple of little dots, because it will also make it harder to get it to go around in a circle if you have stiff glue. Okay, so I'm going to do a big long strip of this. Okay, once you have a strip done, I've only done a little bit, you want to cut little slits in this. So depending how big you want each little piece to be will depend how big you cut your slits. This is, I've never really dealt with a lot of fabrics. Chiffon is like a really, really, right? This is chiffon. The other one's organza. Yeah. It is a beautiful fabric, man. It is like the most delicate, and it really is. And I like these tattered edges. It makes it look really shabby. So then just cut your little, not all the way down, just little slits. Okay, and I would do the whole strip and then take a piece of your foam. I'm just putting it on foam, but felt, cardboard, whatever you have. And again, you can use all kinds of tablecloth, jeans, t-shirts, you know, whatever you got. You can use silk, satin, anything. And then again, we're just going to take, you know, I'm going to use the tattered edge. We're just going to go around. So picture this as a petal. So just glue it down like it would be a petal. Some people will sew them, but I just prefer the hot glue gun because it's just easier. So just get first a little piece on there. And then again, you're just going to ruffle it up all the way around. And that way you'll have this little, I don't know, it just looks different. Doing the same thing, it just looks different, doesn't it? Looks like there's actual petals. So anyways, that's the way you do this one. Okay, so let's demold this guy. Oh, see, I got an air bubble. I needed to push it down harder. But either way, oh, before you see, because if you push this down in there, it comes up over the edge. So you'd want to trim this stuff off. Actually, this is metal. It might actually be able to cut it. But what I did in the past, and again, I don't need this. I'm just doing it to kind of give you a quick how-to. So just literally trim it off. And it's rubber. It's hard to trim. Or scissors, if you got scissors that can do it. I actually didn't go over the edge that much. But either way, I got to get this kind of stuff off. Here. That kind of excess. Because the clay will go under that, and then how do you get it out if there's an overhang like that? See where my thing's going under it? The clay would get stuck under that, and then you'll kind of screw you up pulling your mold out. Okay, so that's a mold. Just make sure it's really pushed down into your thing. I would have a little divot there now because I didn't. See, I would have a little divot right there. Anyways, that's how you use the molding putty. And I'll just take my hot glue gun. So practice with it on a couple of small things first, because when I first did those, I had to figure it out. And it's, like I said, it's been like 2 years since I've even made one, but that happened quite a bit. I would say 2 or 3 times on my first couple. So do a trial run on smaller things until you get the feel of how much you have to push down into your piece and how much you have to really mold it around. Okay. As far as this mold goes, this is still pretty warm, but just like that. And there's that prima mold. And I didn't let it bake quite long enough. And then on these edges, I would just take your craft knife. And this is still warm, so I shouldn't be playing with this. Just take your craft knife and just trim this stuff off. That's it. Okay. 3 quick and easy little things to do to play and have more things to play with.